Finally, the Nintendo Switch 2 has been announced. It is coming out on June the 5th. I wanted to explain a few things and details about this console that you may not be aware of. It's a little bit complicated in places, so I thought putting together a buyer's guide might help out a load of people. If there's any questions that I don't answer for you in this guide, leave them in the comments below and I'll try my best to come back to you, maybe in a future video or response on the comments below. And if you haven't already checked it out, I did a whole video about the whole presentation of the Nintendo Switch 2 in the Direct, so you can go back and watch that and see everything you may have missed. If you like the guide, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll get into it. Reasons to switch up. The Nintendo Switch 2 has a lot of extra upgrades compared to the previous version. It's once again a hybrid, as in it switches from portable to docked, the whole point of it being called a Switch. It has 4K capabilities on the current Switch 2. This means that it can run at 4K for 4K based TVs at a very strong 120 frames per second on certain games. When the console's undocked, it has up to 1080p on the main screen, which is an improvement on the first Switch. Most of these have been shown to be running at a smooth 60 or 30 frames per second depending on what sort of game is playing. Due to the enhanced speed of the Switch 2, it also enables faster running speeds on current games. This has been shown off in a few videos recently. There's been comparisons with Nintendo's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom running side by side on a Switch 1 to Switch 2. It seems to load a lot quicker on these consoles. It's worth looking into that sort of thing. It's a bit confusing whether this will be due to the upgraded versions of the Switch 2, but I'll get into that more further in the video. There's a lot of other small features on the console in terms of its change from the Switch 1 to Switch 2. For example, the console is a lot larger in display. It has larger Joy-Con controllers, 2 USB-C ports on the top and the bottom of the dock, a much more sleeker design in terms of the actual stand. It seems to be a lot more robust in the way it can slide up and down. There's extra buttons that have been included on the new Joy-Cons so you can enable the chat control system. Another thing I'll go into further in the video. The dock itself now has a built-in fan in the system to enable faster run speeds and cooling down of the system a lot easier. Something the Switch 1 did struggle with a lot of the way it was getting older. This one they tried to solve that problem by having the extra dock and extra power and extra cooling in the actual dock system itself rather than the Switch. Compared to its predecessor, the Nintendo Switch 2 is now 7.9 inches and the actual console itself. Previous one was 6.2 inches across the whole screen, so it's a slight upgrade on the size of the actual console itself and the actual tablet size of it. But it is of the same thickness as well as the Switch 1 and Switch 2. There's actually the same thickness on the side length as well, so it's still going to be the same sort of shape and size, but just a slightly larger console. Console now also has a vivid LCD screen with HDR support. This will give it a lot more of a vivid character to the screens that you'll see, the vision you'll see, the graphics you'll see on the screen. We'll give it a little bit more detail. The Joy-Con 2s now attach magnetically to the console rather than sliding. This is quite a key feature. If you think you've got young kids who like to play this console and trying to get the actual railing on the side, it can be quite a technical thing for kids and they may pull it off or break it quite easily. This is a way to sort of try and prevent that, I believe, with having it magnetically sealed on either side. Quite a nice little idea, I think. It's especially tough to pull away from the console as well, so that makes sure it's not going to fall off as you're trying to play a game. There is a button on the rear side of the console to release this magnet off the console, and you just literally slide off as normal. Referring to the Joy-Cons, the buttons on the inside of the controller, the ZR, SR and SL, are now much larger and easier to access. For myself, with larger hands than a normal person, it is very difficult to hit the smaller buttons on the Switch 1 Joy-Con, so this is a welcome upgrade for me personally. There's also an extra button on the inside of the console, but it's not really been explained what it is yet, so hopefully there'll be some more details on that in the future. The control sticks are now slightly larger as well compared to the previous version. One of the more interesting variants on the Joy-Con 2 to the Joy-Con 1 is the fact that you can use it like a mouse style. Put it on the side and move it across and use it as a mouse clicker. This would be especially useful for games based from the PC having ports to the Switch. You've got Civilization, for example, is one of those games that could work very well on these sort of consoles using that feature. But you could also use it for other games like Metroid Prime 4 and other shooters that might be very useful to the people. The speakers have been improved on the console itself. They've now got dual sound appearing from underneath, and it's also got a built-in mic for easy voice chatting across your friends. It's literally right on the top of the console by the game card slot. Here's a good point to get into voice chatting. It's a new feature on the Switch 2 which isn't available on the Switch 1. You can easily access a system where you can voice chat with your friends. You can do this with up to 4 people, and you can also see what games they're playing while you're chatting with them as well. There's other features such as being able to use a camera with the console. There are their own Nintendo version of this camera if you want to buy that. But you can use any compatible USB-C camera. So if you already have a webcam or something that's set up for USB-C use, hook that up to the Switch 2 and then you can play games with your friends and they can see what you're doing. When chatting online with friends, you can have a mixture of game noise and voice, but it only takes in your voice to send over to your friends while on voice chat. It's a very immersive and very clever system. I'm liking the idea of it. I'm hoping we can see more of that use in the future, and hopefully it's a lot more smoother than expected. The chat feature can be accessed by hitting the C button on the Joy-Cons themselves. The C button is also added on the new Pro controller. The new Pro controller is an upgraded version of the current Pro controller, sticking with the Pro controller for the Switch 1 for the moment, because you can use that on the console as well. If you have the Joy-Cons from the Joy-Con 1, you can also use them on the Switch 2 as well. They won't be able to charge on the Switch 2 because they don't have the sliding mechanic on the Switch 2, so you'd have to have it still connected to the Switch 1 or a separate charge bank. But any controllers you've got from your previous Switch, you can use on this console, which is a great feature, and I'm glad they've done that. Mainly because the Switch 2 Pro controller is very expensive. The Nintendo Switch 2 has a 256GB internal storage capacity. It also has extra storage options in terms of USB cards you can stick into the console to upgrade, but these are going to be very complicated, so I will go to them in a very separate section later on. Nintendo Switch 2 games. Let's start with the key features here. Nintendo Switch 1 games will work on your Nintendo Switch 2. You can literally transfer them over and they'll play in the console straight away. Some of these games have enhanced versions for Nintendo Switch 2 called the Nintendo Switch 2 versions. These particular versions may have chargeable upgrades. Some of them have been ranging from around £6-7 up to £15 depending what game it is you're upgrading. So far listed on these upgrades are Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Party Jamboree with Jamboree TV, Kirby and the Forgotten Land will have a Star-Crossed World extra edition for the Switch 2. Pokemon Legends ZA, or ZA, depending what country you're from, has a late 2025 release date, but it will have an improved performance with higher frame rate and resolution version for the Nintendo Switch 2. Metroid Prime 4, another game also announced to be released this year, will also have a Switch 1 and Switch 2 version with upgradable optional versions on the Nintendo Switch 2. Are you guys with me so far? Because this is very confusing, even for me, so if it is and it gets to the point where it's too confusing, message me in the comments and we'll try and work our way through in our head. Maybe I'll do a further video on this. If you own the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack membership, you can get free upgraded versions of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Very similar to the way that you get the Splatoon 2 upgrades and the upgrades for Animal Crossing with the expansion pack. This works in the same way. If you play it on the Nintendo Switch 2, you will get the upgraded version. It's worth mentioning that I've not seen any upgrade versions for Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2 or 3, Smash Brothers, and a multitude of other multiplayer based games like Animal Crossing. None of these games have shown that they've got a upgrade version yet. Makes me think they're probably going to be working on a new game for these ones instead. But just put that in mind. You'll still be able to play these games on the console, but there will be no upgraded features for these games so far announced. Launch day, we have an extensive list of new games that are going to be available to play on day one for the console. This is significant when you think back to the days of like the Wii U, which had like 2 available games to play. This is crazy. Honestly, this list of games available to play is going to be amazing. We have Mario Kart World, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's upgraded versions, as already mentioned. Nintendo Switch 2 Tour, which is like a basic tour guide of the whole game and the whole console itself, but it's a little bit weird because they're trying to charge you for it. I probably would avoid this. It's annoying. GameCube Classics. They're basically doing a classic version of the GameCube that's going to be announced and working on the Switch 2. You can also run all the other previous ones that were available on the Switch. So you have the NES, the SNES, Mega Drive, N64 if you've got the expansion pack as well. So they're all going to be available, and the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance versions. You'll still be able to play 6 generations of consoles on the Switch 2. But there's also loads of new games that have come out in the last few weeks, and also new ones been announced for this console. It includes Split Fiction, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to the Switch 2, Street Fighter 6, Civ 7 as already mentioned with the mouse controls, Hogwarts Legacy, Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Fortnite are bringing their popular game to the console as well. Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition is getting a release on Switch 2. I'm really looking forward to Deltarune Chapters 1 to 4. They've already done Chapters 1 and 2 on the Switch, but Chapters 3 and 4 are brand new to everyone. This is going to be day 1 release for the Switch. Survival Kids, Rune Factory Guardians of Zuma. I'm going to butcher the naming of this, but Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening Complete, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Fast Fusion, Kansitsugami Path of the Goddess, Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer, and loads of other rumoured games still to come from launch day. First thing I'd say about these new games is shop around for the best prices. The prices of these games is ridiculous. Physical editions are going to be costing more. For example, Mario Kart World on its own is priced at £74.99 for the physical edition. The digital edition is priced at £66.99. It's still very expensive for what it is, but still, shop around, you might get better deals. Let's get into the console price as well. So the console price on its own is £395.99 on the Nintendo website. I would probably recommend looking at the console deal for Mario Kart World. The reason for this, if you buy the bundle of Nintendo Switch 2 with Mario Kart World, you're going to save yourself at least £35 on this game. The Mario Kart edition is £429.99, so you're basically paying £35 for Mario Kart. So like I said, you're saving yourself a very decent amount of money here by going the Switch 2 bundle version of Mario Kart World. You literally are saving about 35 quid. The annoying thing is it's a download code that comes with the console, so if you're looking for the physical edition, probably avoid that one and go for the console on its own. But that's the only reason I would say go for the Switch physical of Mario Kart World. It's really frustrating, but it's one of those things with that, unfortunately. Other games in comparison, let's look at games like Donkey Kong Bonanza that's been announced. The physical game for that is £66.99. The digital version, £58.99. So it's still expensive, but it's a little bit cheaper than the likes of Mario Kart World. I think they've priced that out a little bit to make people buy the bundle, maybe, of the console, but that's the only way I can really think of it. A lot of these other prices for these games on here are varied, let's say. But the physical edition of the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are also at $66.99. So that looks like that's the price it's going to be for most physical editions on the Nintendo Switch 2. How are you holding up, parents? Are you still with me? Are you just looking at your bank accounts and crying right now? Me too. Don't worry. We'll get through this together. Let's carry on. Storage. I wanted to give this its own section because it's very confusing, and I want to make sure you guys buy the right extra upgrade options of memory. As mentioned, there's a 256GB internal storage on the Switch 2, which is more than the internal storage on the Switch 1. You can upgrade with extra memory cards, like you could on the previous console. However, these are now called microSD express cards. These are a brand new, very fast type of card. Wasn't compatible with the Switch 1. This is only compatible with the Switch 2. This means you can't use the memory cards from the Switch 1 in your Switch 2 console. You have to upgrade to a new memory set. These cards are priced at, currently there's a special Mario Edition one on the Nintendo website, which is a 256GB upgrade, so literally doubling the memory you have on the console for £50. I would say if you've got enough memory on the internal storage for day one, then you should be okay for a while on this. Nintendo are very good at making their games small, but the problem is if you're going to third-party games, such as games like WWE, when they release on their console, a lot of their storage is normally very heavy on their games. So a lot of that storage will be taken up straight away. If you're looking for just Nintendo games, you might get away with it for a while just on the internal storage. So it might be something to avoid and maybe hold off until they release terabyte versions of these cards. But they are very costly, is all I can say on these. It's a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. The other reason I say hold off on buying these straight away, there has been a question on whether physical hard drives that you can plug in with a USB will work in the Switch 2 in the future. There's been some rumours that this will be a key feature for the console coming up, especially when you've got two USB slots on the console itself. It seems like a key idea that may work. It's not been physically announced currently that is going to be a thing, but it might be worth holding off on the memory just for another year or so if you can, until you're ready to upgrade to something more significant like a 2TB physical hard drive. Peripherals. Controllers. Let's talk controllers for this console. As mentioned previously, all the controllers from the Switch 1, so the Joy-Cons, the Switch Pro controller, will work on the Switch 2, so you can use them on the console. You'll have to have a separate charging dock for your Switch 1 Joy-Cons though, because these will not be able to be charged on the Switch 2 itself. You can still charge them on your Switch 1 if you're still keeping the old console, but if you're selling that, you may need to keep hold of the Joy-Cons for something else to charge into. There are several options of those online. Want an idea on that? There's a cool Piranha Plant one, which is pretty cool for charging. There are new controllers though. As mentioned, the Joy-Con 2 we've already gone through with, but there's also the Pro Controller 2, which looks a very nice design. I think it's going to be quite significant how much of a different controller that will be. But you can use the Joy-Con ones and the Pro controllers, so you may be worth holding off on the console's new controllers until later on. Cases for the console. As the console is slightly bigger, your older cases for the Switch may not work with this console, so you may have to look into other physical ways of getting cases for this console. There's plenty of options online, so just do some searches on Amazon. You'll find the right sizes, but always make sure it's Switch 2 size. Otherwise you're going to have trouble buying the wrong thing. Nintendo Switch Online. Okay, so this could get a little bit complicated as well. To play games online, you need to buy a Nintendo Switch Online membership. There are two versions of the membership. There are the standard, and there's the expansion pack version. The standard membership is priced at £3.49 a month, or $6.99 for 3 months, or £17.99 for 12 months. This gets you access to play online games, gives you access to the NES game library, the SNES game library, and the Game Boy game library. Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack individual membership is 12 months for free, £35.99. A little bit more than the current standard version, but it also unlocks extra things on the console. For example, it gives you access to the Game Boy Advance library. It gives you access to the Nintendo 64 library. It gives you access to the Sega Mega Drive library. It also gives you access to several other features, such as being able to play Animal Crossing's DLC included for free. You can play the Splatoon 2 story mode, all included for free. You can also do lots of other features with this, such as the new feature of being able to play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom together as enhanced Switch 2 versions. If there's a few of you in the family who want to play their own users, you may want to consider getting the family membership. The standard online family membership is priced at £31.49. This is for a whole year's of use. It just gives you the standard packs. For the expansion pack as well, this is priced at £60, well £59.99, but £60. But if you already have a Nintendo Online membership, you do get discounts for that. So at the moment it's offering it for me for £45.05, so a little bit cheaper. That's for the whole year. You can have it on up to 8 users, so if you want to split that between friends and things, you can sort of split and make that cost a little bit cheaper. Probably a good way to do so, but be aware that one person has to be the main console who owns all the rights to all the other users, so it can be a little bit difficult in some places to set it up for multiple purchasing and things like that. So well worth it if you're in a family group, but maybe only if you're in the same household as such. The new game sharing feature is also available to anyone in your family household, but you still have to physically move games from one console to another as like a game share digitally on the console. I'll leave a link to my good friend Miketendo's video all about this and how it works. All the prices I've previously mentioned are from Nintendo's own website. You can shop around and look for discount codes for cheaper versions of these prices. The family ones are a little bit harder to get hold of, but if you're looking for individual prices for online memberships, I'd say check out places like CD Keys, are normally pretty good for those sort of things in terms of upgrading your memberships. You sometimes save yourself £15 to £16 here and there. If you're pre-ordering a Nintendo Switch 2 and you have the online memberships, they actually have given a lot of people access to be able to pre-order it via this system. Basically, if you've played a lot of games on this and have the Nintendo Switch membership, they've actually probably offered you a code towards pre-ordering this console already. Check out in your emails just in case. But you can also shop around. I bought my console from Curry's UK retail store. I've managed to find some discounts on it, so it saved me a little bit of money. But there are multiple other places you can still buy the consoles. Listed on my current list, I have Shop2, Amazon, Argos, Very, The Game Collection, EE, eBuyer, My Nintendo Store, like I just mentioned, Smith's Toys, Curry's, John Lewis, JD Williams, HMV, and Game have some limited pre-orders available. So there's still plenty of stores that are offering pre-orders, but do shop around because you might be able to get better prices for individual games and individual consoles. And there we go. I hope that's not too bad of a guide for you, firstly. If there's anything else you think I missed, I probably have, do mention it in the comments below and I'll do my best to either answer it in a follow-up video or in a follow-up comment to yourself. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Do please subscribe if you would like to watch more videos of my own. I have a whole load of other video links in my description of previous playlists that I've been playing through, but I also have a significant one on Switch 2 content, which I'll leave at the top of the description and a link here. It's got a list of other Switch 2 content creators who might be able to offer you some other details. We've done a whole playlist of stuff for you to look into, so if you've got any other options or different things, if we find some decent deals for you guys, we'll put it into that playlist for you. So make sure to follow that, and I hope you will have a wonderful day. See you later. Ciao for now. Bye bye.